Well, I lost a tooth the other day, so sorry if that distracts you. So, I've been watching Pluribus, and I love it. And it is connected to this oil, gas, coal stuff, whatever. And I'll explain why it's connected. And my hope in this video is that if you started watching it and you stopped it because you thought it was slow and boring, or you heard it slow and boring, you don't want to watch it, I want to explain how, if you look at it in a certain way, it's real. It's very interesting and is not boring whatsoever. Now, I'm definitely a filmmaking nerd, geek, whatever, storytelling. So that aspect of it is just next level. So I'm sorry about that. So I mean, I guess that sort of biases me, but I still feel anybody can relate and love this TV show if they understand what it's about. Because if you're expecting, like, too many people these days are expecting like fast moving action and suspense, and they look at something like this slow and they just think it's conceited or pretentious or whatever, and it's not pretentious at all, actually. Pluribus is more about Texas oil than Landman will ever be, and I'll explain that. So first, let's just start with a thought experiment. Let's just say you are a landman in Texas, right? And you do very well, and you make a lot of money. But in doing your work, many people get injured or killed or screwed over financially. So like if Landman was more realistic, right? Because you know that when those men get killed in Landman and the oil company gives them hundreds of thousands of dollars, nah, you know that ain't right, right? So if you were a true landman and you basically had to go to the widows and say, hey, listen, all I can really give you is like, $5,000, that would be a real landman. That would be reality of that life. But okay, let's just say again, you're a landman and you have to do all this stuff and you make a ton of money. And so when you go out to a restaurant or somebody throws you a birthday party, all these people come. And why are they there? They're there because you're successful, right? They're there because you have money. They're not there because they can relate to what you do or appreciate the sacrifices you made, the painful decisions you've had to do, all the rest of it. So for certain types of people, that is very frustrating because you want to connect with others. You want to be part of the society. And as I mentioned in other videos, when you work in oil, gas, and stuff like that, you're working outside society. You're working away from it. You're making all the stuff for which the other half lives that has all the ideals of society, right? So the history of oil is interesting in that the first oil was used for lights, as you know, right? Rockefeller made his fortune on giving people kerosene to have lights so they could invite their friends over and have brandy by the fireside and talk. So they could write letters to friends and family and read books from others, or read letters, right? Light in the beginning allowed society to form these lifestyles that were more about intellectual stuff, entertainment, the arts, right? You could have ballet, you could have what other, baseball. Sorry. Anyway, so and then when they started using cars, the same thing. Why do people use cars? To take their friends and family and go on vacations, to meet other people, right? Oil has always been about enabling people to have friends, to be social. And but again, the problem is that the people who are getting it don't get any of that, and the people who get it, so each side doesn't really understand the other. So Carol in Pluribus, right? She's her character is a successful romance novelist. And all these people come to this book signing, they all love her and whatever. And but when she gets in the car and the limousine driver asks her, you a lot of people here see you. You must be famous. What do you do? And she says, well, you'd only know me if you like, reading crap. So she hates what she does. But on the other hand, she really wants to know how her books are doing on the bestseller list. So she's both sort of revolted by what she does because all she's really doing is creating fantasies for others. Just wait, what are you doing as an oil man working on a rig? You're creating oil for somebody to turn the lights on and drive somewhere or create a fantasy for themselves. To go to the ballet and say, oh, this is what life is about, the ballet. Well, the ballet wouldn't be on if you didn't have the oil to light it, to power your car to get there, stuff like that. So that's what she's struggling with. When this event happens, where everybody changes, except her and like 11 other people. And this is, I guess, spoiler alert, but this happens very early. Again, I don't really think that knowing anything that happens in the show would ruin it for you. So if you haven't seen it, you already believe me, just go watch it and stop this right now. So she wants connection, and yet she can't. She has trouble like bridging that gap between what she does, where she understands the griminess of it, the dirtiness of it in a sense, the aloneness of it, and then being part of other people. So if you look at the movie in that way, then you understand her character so far, you would think that when all these people turn like this, and she has such a lot of trouble like connecting with people, that she'd be the first one to want this. But she doesn't want it. She resists. She does not want to be, she doesn't want to be changed, even though she would admit she's the most effed up person probably on the planet. And it's very hard to do a TV show about an unlikable person. Because she doesn't have when the other people give her arguments like, why is this bad that other people become this way? She has no answer for them. Her only answer is like, I don't want to be changed. This is who we are. But she doesn't have these like really inspiring speeches about it. She's just like, no, we don't want to be like that. This is how we want to be. And it's a weird thing. It's a weird dynamic, right? Because I think that's true. Like the struggle is what makes us who we are. It isn't getting everything. Now, there's a guy in the show that it is enough for him, right? Like, it is enough. Like, he doesn't care. Right? He just get the money, get the cars, whatever. He gets everything he wants. He's totally happy. And then there's a great scene where he's on the phone with them, and they're like, what's going on? He goes, oh, I miss you, but, she's lonely. Like, he doesn't want to be away from his new life of having everything. But he recognizes that she's lonely. And in a way, he knows that she's right. It's, the filmmaking is just so subtle. And a lot of stuff that happens, and again, sorry to geek out, but a lot of the stuff that happens looks like it's boring. It looks like it doesn't really make sense. But I guarantee you, if you take any episode and you watch it, and then you watch it again and say, oh, what do I think that these, filmmakers are trying to say here, right? You don't have to know anything about film. You watch a second or third time, you're going to be amazed at just how detailed it is. It's very, very detailed. It isn't slow. It's densely packed. But if you're not used to, if you're not like a film geek or whatever, or you're just used to getting movies that are really fast paced, you don't really know what to look for. You're waiting for the wrong things. So in an action adventure, you're waiting for the next, thing to learn, like the next conflict or whatever. But in Pluribus, you're waiting for the next thing in the struggle for somebody that works in this dirty business. Like, do they want to really have that life, or do they want to just get it all? Should they just give up and just go with the flow? Because really, if you think about it, right, it's the idealists right? It's the intellectuals who should be like, oh, we want to keep what we want human. And that's another fascinating thing about this. And then as for Landman, so in Landman, right, it's just all about money with his wife and his vapid daughter. I mean, is that really what Texans are all like? Like, they work in the oil field, and if somebody gets hurt or dies, or whatever, they give them a few $100,000, and they go to old age homes, and because they're cool, and give them liquor that makes them happy, and other people don't. I mean, that's just preposterous. The whole show just gets, triter and triter. It's beneath Billy Bob Thornton. There's no real struggle. There is tons of struggle in Pluribus. It is packed in there. You just have to settle down and put yourself in her shoes or the other people's shoes and think about, what would you do in this circumstance? Is it about the struggle, or do we want to wallow in the way we were? Anyway, I'm getting totally off track here. Anyway, let me know if you watch it in the comments. Sorry for any spoilers. And it's an amazing show, and it's more about oil and gas and their place in society than, again, Landman can touch it all. Sadly, Landman started out well, and then it's just gone to pot. So anyway, Pluribus, again, it's a special delight. This Vince Gilligan and the writers and directors that he gets to work with him are just the best of the best. It's just next level. There are very few filmmakers out there, people who make TV shows, that work on that type of level. I mean, if it wasn't him, there's no way Apple or Sony would have greenlit that movie or TV series or paid for it, right? No freaking way. And there's a reason that they did it, and it isn't because they think it's going to be a Breaking Bad. I think people understand it's not going to be a Breaking Bad and make tons of money. It's because everybody who works in that business understands, not everybody, but many people are true connoisseurs. They truly understand the greatness of the artistry of the people that he's gathered around him to produce these shows. And they want to see it themselves. So they all get together and they make it happen. And I'm blabbering on. What are we at? 13 minutes. Sorry. Talk to you later.